Yeah. So last week, uh, we had a good episode where we just discussed Charlie Kirk and what happened to him. And, it got me thinking. I know we didn't really get into any nerdums and all that, but we had some good views. Anyways, so I was just thinking, how does world events or current events affect different nerdums. For example, comic books. And so it's interesting because I like comic books.
Yeah.
I'm a big DC fan. Superman's my favorite. I like Justice League's good. Even Batman's all right, but Wonder Woman, Harley, like those are our top three. Really, is Superman, and then and I say Superman, The Adventures of Superman, and uh, Action Comics. But I have. I can grab it. I'm not going to grab it, but anyways, it's Superman throughout the years because it's in honor of issue, I believe, Action Comics number 1000. Anyways, and so I remember how there's different. They had different covers from different years, and like one of them was from World War II, like the one from the 40s, and I believe there's one from the 50s. About is it the 50s or I think maybe the 60s, like the Korean War, or anyways, it just got me thinking with the whole Charlie Kirk thing last week, the day before September 11th, and then of course the 24th anniversary of September 11th. It just got me thinking how current events affect, um, like comics or just nerdums in general, TV shows and all that. So, you know, first and foremost, one of the first examples of this, to be honest, within comics, uh, was in the 30s. In the 1930s is when a lot of your big comics really started to come out, especially for DC. Batman and Superman both debuted in the 30s. Uh, and so, what happened during the 30s? Well, you had the Great Depression. And so you have this economic hardship where a lot of people are just down and out. But what's really cool is superheroes like Superman and Batman, um, they offered readers a way to just escape and just bring hope. Like just kind of like what we experience today. Sometimes you have a really rough day. Well, what do? Well, you like to find something to kind of get your mind off of it. Or maybe some people escape into a good book, or they want to watch a movie, or their favorite TV show. Why? Well, because especially if you've had a rough day, or if you've had a rough day, well, you just want to be able to escape. Or I know for some people like you, cough cough, anime. You'll watch your favorite anime, and so I know for uh, in the 30s, it was the Great Depression. That was one of the big things. In the 40s, you have World War II. And so you have a lot of people like Superman, who Superman comics were used to punch a Nazi, or fight against, Hitler, fight against the Axis powers. It was used for propaganda, for patriotism.
Yeah.
It's good to fight against the bad guys. Captain America, his debut cover was in 1941 and showed him famously punching Adolf Hitler. So is it propaganda? I mean, it is, because you're pushing forward this narrative that we're the good guys, and so we need to get behind them and we need to support them. You know, and then you have the other events with World War II, like Pearl Harbor, where many storylines shifted to support the U.S. Effort because this is a terrible thing. And so, like with that, like Marvel and DC both got in on it. Like we need to truly fight for for America, for the good guys. We need to stand up for them. which I mean, rightfully so. You know, it's I know we have the advantage of hindsight, but still looking back, like you can tell what side is the correct side of, being on the correct side of history, and just seeing how these comics were affected by current events, but also how they were used to affect other people.
Well,
um
to be fair, it wasn't just
Go ahead.
comics too.
Right.
Uh, one of my favorite things back in the day was watching the old wartime Walt Disney cartoons of World War One and World War Two.
Mm,
Okay, they were just so fun because here you had like Charles Schultz did in the 1940s, 50s with World War Two, the Red Baron, and in the
mm,
1970s, there was I want to say it was 70s, it was either 70s or 60s that they had the Red Baron song, "The Flight of the Red Baron," played by somebody that's and it's still a popular music like for Christmas time. So it wasn't just comic book heroes back in the day. No, no, no. Back in the day, it was you had Disney doing it. You had like Charles Schultz doing it. You had a lot of prominent figures back in the day, I wouldn't even say propaganda because what it was giving encouragement to not only their family but also to their kids. Like the idea, I mean, let's be honest, like being kids, sometimes we have this stupid idea of, yeah, Snoopy's out there fighting with my dad, fighting, the Nazis, or Goofy's out there, in the trenches with my dad, or Pluto's out there, helping give medical aid, or Donald Duck. Okay, pause for Donald Duck. Okay. Donald Duck is the only, as far as I know, the only retired military enlisted character in the world. Like in the
mm.
US, my bad. So Donald Duck retired as I want to say sergeant or staff sergeant in the Navy. I don't remember, but he was actually in the military. The U.S. Navy, for whatever reason, the U.S. Navy took him and made him an enlisted man and retired him back in early 2000s or 1990s, and literally gave him an official retiring party.
Really?
Yeah, so like
Like an honorable discharge?
yeah, he got an honorable discharge from the military. So like when we're talking
Wow.
about the 1950s and we're talking about the 1940s and different things like that, we're talking about superheroes and cartoons. These are some of the things we're
Hmm.
talking about. But kind of as you're saying, it's kind of as you're saying, it's more than just what's it called? It's more than just a like, yeah, it happened in history, cool, but like let's look at
Yeah.
common history. Like we're like even going back with Charlie Kirk, and like he was recently on South because they were trying
Yeah.
to make fun of him.
Yeah. I believe it was Cartman that was impersonating him.
Yes, 100%. And what they did is they said they called Cartman's job, or whatever you want to call it, a master debater, except when they said it fast,
You
you
probably forgot the
I'm
duh.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna let you guys fill in the blanks of what that means, but uh probably Kirk saw it and thought it was hysterical,
Yeah.
which absolutely floored the South Park people because they're like, "Were you trying to get him mad and upset?" Oh no, you just flattered him. I mean, congratulations. That's the difference between that's between a person who has ego versus someone who's actually humble.
Yeah. Well, and I think for him, because I know he said, "Hey, I'm a part of pop culture. I'll take it," And I mean, I think I know. I would assume based on what I've seen. I mean, because I didn't personally know the guy, but I would assume, he knew a lot of people didn't like him, and they
Oh yeah.
disagreed with him and made fun of him and all that. And the thing is, when you're in the public eye, like he was, like you're going to get critics. And I mean, really, everyone has critics. But for someone like him, who's out front, who's such a public figure, he knew he had critics, and so he had a choice. Either I, uh, either I just get all offended and everything, or I don't. and I just embrace it. And that's just kind of what he did is he's like, if you don't agree with me, okay, no big deal. So what? And I mean, I'd kind of feel the same way. Like, hey, I made it on South Park. I don't care how much they were making fun of me. I mean, because really, the I didn't see all of it. I just know like the basics of it. And I mean, they did the best impression they could of him. That doesn't say anything about the dialogue because again, I didn't really watch it. Um, but still, like that's just yeah, and that is pop culture. That is nerdums. How again, what is going on right now is reflected in the media in different ways. SNL does this all the time. Say what you want about Saturday Night Live, but that's what they do because they see what's going on, what's popular. Well, then we got to do something about this. And one of my favorite sketches was from 2016 from they were doing like a Hillary watch party, and it was obviously we know Donald Trump won late in the night, but it was just really funny watching it. And I know shows like that have to be like accurate, they have to be up to date, they have to be like now. But the point is, like in pop culture, you see it so well. You see so much of this where what's going on now is affecting what's on TV, not the content, what's going on.
We doing this originally this month. We were talking about veggie, and I want to touch on this a little bit. One of the things like me and Jason both were talking about. Charlie Kirk was modern day. However, he was a modern day turning point and has now turned into a modern day where we're like, hey, you killed our leader. We're still gonna praise God. Still gonna do all that. Rob Schneider came out of the woodwork and said, I don't agree with any of you. Heck, even Adam Sandler is like, yeah, you guys understand how much influence I have to make Hollywood people go dumb. Like that's saying something. Because all of those guys have like all the money in the they're just like not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get some people that I mean, like they're conservative. Like I mean, like Rob Schneider. I mean, it's been long known he's conservative, but yeah, some of these others that have just I will say for the most part have said, look, I disagreed vehemently with this dude, but at least like what happened should not have happened. Like this is not how we should be. And it's just it's sad, but I mean, it's true.
Like Jeffrey said, those who are celebrating right now, you're part of the problem. I'm sorry, Jeffree Star, like
That's saying something.
yeah. Okay, so thing like about pop culture, Jason, the last count I saw was at least 50.
Oh no, 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 no. That's nothing compared to what I last saw. Let me see if I can pull this up because I there was one account.
I know
let me
there's a
see.
whole
Go ahead.
website dedicated to people.
Last I saw, this one dude was kind of following. I'm gonna pull this up. I'm looking. Yeah, last I saw was like over 800, something like that. Like, and that's just yeah. I can't necessarily find it, but last I saw was it was like there was over 800, and that's just from this one account. This one account, semi keeping up with it, and of course, there's still more people that are, it just, I mean, can we just have some civility? Like what I found interesting is like DC, how they, how you mentioned it, they canceled. There was this one person that wrote, oh my gosh, I think Red Hood, like they were writing a new series. I believe it was Red Hood, and it came out Wednesday, the day that Charlie Kirk, uh, that all this went down, and this person celebrated it, and DC came out immediately and said, "No, we're pulling everything," and they're like, "Because this isn't what this doesn't represent us." Which, to be honest, that spoke a lot to me because they're very liberal. Every year in June they have pride issues, and uh, all this stuff, and yet they at least had the decency to say, "Hold on, well, time out. We're gonna do this both sides." You know, we'll be super liberal, but we're also gonna be for the other side, and that's really how it should be. You know, and so I know there's some people crying foul. Oh, well, I got fired from my job, and how dare you, and all this stuff, and we could get into a not necessarily a theological debate, but like a political debate about free speech. And you know, am I really free to say whatever I want? Can I, with or without consequences or whatever? And it just, we'll get it. We could get into that, but we're not going to. But it's just so crazy how one person, as crazy as it sounds, just has been so influential in so many ways. I'm sure ways that people didn't even realize,
Yeah.
especially within pop culture. Like I, I saw once, one person was talking the other day, and they were going to go to one of the campuses. He's like, I was going to go to one of the campuses, one of his events, because he was going to tell him that for the longest time he was an atheist, but he watched Charlie's videos and just could tell there's just something up. He's like, I don't want to be a Christian, but he kept watching these videos and what Charlie Kirk was saying, and ended up becoming a Christian because of it. Did his own research, became a Christian because of it, and it's just it's amazing to hear stories like that. And I am curious how, here we are talking about how current events affect pop culture. I'm curious how in the next few weeks, what else we're going to see. Are we going to see something within the comic book realm? Are we going to see, within, I mean, movies would take a lot longer, but like TV shows or, whatever. Um, and that's something that it's going to take time. Within books, it takes a long time to write. With movies, it takes, months and months, a year or so to film. To You got to write it, you got to film it, you got to do post production, you got to do all this stuff. For TV shows, TV shows typically run 6 to 8 weeks ahead of when they air. So I think this is something that really we would have to, we might have to come back 6 months to a year and say, okay, what has, what has truly been the impact of this?
Where, truthfully, if you want my opinion, this is kind of where I'm at with, because from a political standpoint, we have a guy that goes by the name of Nero coming out. The issue with Nero is he's not a moderate like Kirk was. He is very, very outspoken about his beliefs, like very outspoken about his, and basically says, if you don't like it, tough. These are the facts, and we'll present. However, the thing about him is to be gay, and surprise, surprise, Christian. To me, you cannot be conservative and not be impossible. Or let me rephrase that. You cannot be a Christian and be a liberal. I should say that. I think that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. I think you can be moderate, but I don't think you can be extreme liberal like what we see. You have these progressive Christians, which, to be honest, deeply trouble me because a lot of the things that they say, but they're all already full of heresy. So what's adding a little bit more heresy? We're already knee deep. We'll just throw some more in there.
So one of the things you sit there and don't have, and it's just gonna go. Thing that I like, that I like what what I'm sorry. You can say to me about me that bottom line. And this is what I organization still are very much don't have to. I'll tell you, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm gonna tell you my politics are rooted in the Bible. The Bible, in my opinion, I think when I'm out of this, several things. One of the first things we're going to kind of like what we talked about last week, how we're going to have an influx of people that are going to be watching his videos now, trying to figure out what he was about, and they're going to run across religious side of Kirk's videos and go, okay, maybe I need to do more research and find out what this is about. I think we're also going to um, have young men go, hold up, this wasn't just a political assassination. This was a martyrdom, and they're not going to be violent about it, but they're going to stand firm in their faith and go, no, this isn't right. This is what the Bible says. And if you don't like it, tough love. Because there's no negotiating.
Yeah.
I also believe that one of the other things that we're going to see, we're going to start seeing people come out of the woodwork, say, hey, let's start praying for our nation. Several football stadiums have come out and said, we are holding events to honor Charlie Kirk as a visual, as whatever. But what they're doing also is they're kind of, from what my understanding, I could be wrong, is they're also giving over to the point and going, you guys talk about whatever you. This was your guys' boss. You guys take the lead, which is kind of cool. I mean, I think we're gonna see. This is a hopeful wish. I think we're gonna see a generation so broken by what's that something is gonna change in the spiritual life.
Yeah, I would love to see a revival come out of all this. You know, I love those stories where a person is on their deathbed, a person's just their life has been so influential that at least one person comes to Christ. Like I remember, my gosh, I think it was Jeremy Camp. Jeremy Camp's first wife, I believe she had cancer. I have to look that up.
Oh, she did. She did.
Yeah. She had ovarian cancer. That's what it was. And by the way, if you've never seen the movie I Still Believe, oh my goodness, watch it. Incredible. It's her story. It's his story, it's her story. But like she said, I want at least one person to come to Christ. If I die, I want one person to come to Christ. Essentially, I'll lose my I'll gain my spiritual life, but I want someone else to gain theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll die. If I die physically, I want someone to come alive spiritually. So anyways, her nurse was at the funeral. Her nurse that took care of her for a while, for a few months, came to the funeral and ended up accepting Christ that day, like at the funeral. And I think there were a few people who did, but still, like, what a testimony. And like for this, how awesome would that be for people, like exactly like what you're saying? People start watching his videos and seeing the religious aspect, the Christian aspect of it, of everything, and then just to start diving into it. And and actually, this is what's crazy. I don't know if you know this. So when he was there at Utah Valley University, a few feet, this is crazy, a few feet from him was Frank Turek, who's an apologist. He's the guy over cross-examined. He was there like 5 feet from him when Kirk got hit. In fact, what's really crazy, and Stephen, I love a good conspiracy theory. I mean, I'm not as into them as I used to be, but like people started accusing him of being in on the hit, and he had to come out and he's like, no, like you see him adjusting his hat, and he's like, I was adjusting my hat, but I was there like 5 feet from him. Like Charlie was my friend, Charlie Charlie still had a lot of questions about Christianity. And he's like, and I got to be there, like to watch him and listen to him and just answer these questions that he had. And yet these people are like, oh, well, this guy must be in on it. And he's like, no, but here's this apologist that people know. Again, cross-examined. A lot of people know who that is. A lot of Christians who are in apologetics know who Frank Turek is. And he was there, Like, I think that's awesome that he was close to many Christians who really know their stuff and could really help him to be grounded.
Yeah.
And, hopefully people get more into apologetics. They hear this Christian aspect and they start diving into it. No, Frank Turk, that's this dude. Well, let me check out his stuff. And then you go start listening to him and his stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like all they people find themselves deep within, Christian apologetics. And it's like, well, I don't have any choice but to become a Christian because this makes sense.
Right. No, I mean, Josh McDowell was apologist, and every generation, couple really good.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite Paul himself is not apologetic is Kirk Cameron.
Yeah.
I love Kirk. I find what Ray, what's his name?
Comfort.
Ray Comfort. Like that is very much. This is the reality. But
yeah, and that's really the biggest thing is you can present the gospel as much as you can, as much as you want, but you can't force a person to accept it. You can't force them to live out their life in a godly manner. You can expose people to the truth, and that's what Charlie Kirk did. I would love to see a massive revival come out of all this. I would love to see people get into apologetics. Like you said, Josh McDowell, his son Sean McDowell, incredible. William Lane Craig, Gary Habermas is really big on the resurrection of Christ. In fact, I was listening to Frank Turek interview Gary Habermas earlier today, and like Gary Habermas this year came out with pretty much his magnum opus or magnus opus. Anyways, so it's in 3 parts. And like the first part is 1,100 pages, almost 1,100 pages about the resurrection of Christ. There's so much information that's out there. There's so much facts, so many facts about different aspects of Christianity to prove it's true. But I could sit here and I could debate, whoever until my face is blue. I could give you all the facts, but it's up to you. It's up to the other person to accept it. Because like Gary Habermas was saying earlier, he's like, it's really funny how you can get an atheist who talks to a Christian and says, well, you prove God is true. You prove God is real. And he's like, why do I have to have the burden of proof? You should have the burden of proof. You're telling me something that's not true. You need to prove it to me. I can prove to you that God is real, but you have to prove it to me that he's not. And he goes, ultimately what it comes down to is a person's heart. I can present all these facts. Oh, you want 5 facts? I'll give you 5 facts. Oh, you want more than 5 facts? I'll give you 5 more. Oh, you still want more facts? Well, now I can tell it's not a matter of you want facts. It's just a matter of you just don't want to believe. And so, I think through all of this, as Christians, our prayer should be, Lord, let people come to know who you really are. Let people be curious and begin to ask questions, and let them find the truth. Not just ask questions, but find the truth. If I have a question about Christianity, if I don't know anything about Christianity, I need to go to a pastor. I'm not just going to find like the Church of Satan or an atheist and say, well, what can you tell me about Christianity? No, if you really want to know about it, you're going to go to the source. But you can have all this information, but the question becomes, what are you going to do with it? And so our prayer as fellow Christians needs to be, Lord, let people who are curious, let them come and find you. Let them go to the right places, the right people to truly find you. Because Stephen, one of my favorite verses says, and you will find me when you search me with all of your heart. I love that. God says, I will make myself known if you just come search for me. Seek and you will find. People say, well, God is so hidden and we don't see him and all this stuff. Here's the truth. When you search for God, you'll find him. You may not find him the way you think, but you're going to find him. You're going to find the peace that he gives. You're going to find the forgiveness that he gives. You're gonna find love, the like godly love. Bible says God is love. God is the definition of love. You're going to find love. We have this God-sized hole deep within our hearts. I forgot who said it. And the only thing that can fill it is God. And so we try so hard to fill it with this and that and everything. And my prayer is that people are going to take the situation and they're going to find Christ, and they're going to come to the realization, you know what? The only thing that answers this question, the only thing that fills this hole is God. And had this not happened to Charlie Kirk, you know what? I never would have given it a thought. I am not saying, I am not celebrating this in any way. But what's amazing is how God does take a bad situation and he turns it for good. You know me, one of my favorite arguments in favor of God is pain and suffering. Because people say, well, why is there pain and suffering? God cannot exist. Why did this happen? Couldn't God have, protected him or this or that? The answer is, I don't know why God didn't. Could he? Yes. But why didn't he? I don't know. But what I also know is God can and he will take this situation and he's going to turn it into something good. And I truly believe we're going to see something come from it in many different ways.
I would definitely agree with that. I think we're going to see more than what I've become so disillusioned with the media that I don't watch the news. I don't watch the media because I don't think anything they're saying is true. So my opinion here is I think we're going to see some things come out of this that the media and a lot of people do not want to see. But in any case, that's I got nothing more to add.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I see the immediate impact this death has had, and I think we're gonna see it within pop culture. We're gonna see it, maybe within comics, maybe within, TV and media and music and all this stuff. But I think again, it's one of those things that we're not necessarily going to see that right now, but come 6 months, 12 months from now, even maybe 18 months, a year and a half from now, we'll be able to look back and say, man, look what came out of this. So yeah, I got nothing more to add either. Just, nerdums reflect pop culture, reflects current events, and for good reason.
All right, Jason, how would you like
well, we should give a challenge. And I know just the challenge. Okay.
Right, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out how to word this. All right. This week, I want you to speak life into someone. Speak life. Speak a blessing over someone. When you go to leave, maybe you go to the grocery store and you check out and the cashier says, "Thank you, have a nice day." Instead of saying, "Thank you, you too," say something more. If you're a believer, say, "May the Lord bless you in all that you do." I've started saying that. I was on the phone with an insurance claim, and that's another story. I'll tell another time. But I was on the phone the other day, and with State Farm, and the call was ending. We were done with our conversation. Lady said, "Well, thank you. Have a nice day." And I said, "Thank you, you too." And then I said, "You know what? May the Lord bless you in all that you do." And I could tell that the lady was taken aback and she was silent for a minute. She goes, "Oh my word, thank you so much." And then we had it was like a 2-minute conversation, but it was simply me just speaking life. One thing that a lot of people have said about Charlie Kirk is, that he was very genuine and he was just such a good friend that he was like their biggest fan. So my challenge is to speak life into someone, speak a blessing over them. You may say, "Well, I'm not a believer. I'm not a Christian." That's fine. I want you to just say something really nice to them more than "have a nice day." Like really speak life into them and then take a moment and pay attention to how they react. Because I guarantee when you go above and beyond with your words, when you speak life into a person, it's going to mean a lot to them. Because that's how you would feel if someone said that to you. So speak life into someone this week and be amazed at their reaction. That's my challenge.
Guys, until next, I can
comment,
comment, like, follow. Let me redo that. Hold on. May the God of peace. May the God of peace. Let the camera come back to me. Okay, there we go. May the God of peace. Dang it, Jason. All right. May the God of peace. Okay, you know what? Then you do it because you know what I'm doing. Go ahead. You're taking the camera. Do it.
No, I'm letting you do it. Go.
I'm gonna Here, I'm gonna mute himself over here. Okay, there we go. Now we can't do anything. Okay, come back to me. Thank you. Okay. May the God of peace and all understanding be upon you, and may his presence be known to you, and in all your ways acknowledged. Until next time, guys, stay geeky, stay lovely, and last but not least, Jason.
Excelsior.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. We love you. Bye.